Okay, thank you for coming this afternoon. Let's make a start. Thank you very much for coming. My name is Pete Allison, and I'd like to introduce to you my colleagues.
Yeah, I'm Peter Rubeck. I'm coming from Germany, from the University of Stuttgart, and work for the professional ski teachers.
I'm Leslie Page. I'm part of the BSIA National Education team, and I'm doing some research as a member of the University of Edinburgh.
So this afternoon we'd like to tell you about 3 different studies that we have been involved in that we think link together into a story. We obviously don't have very much time, so we are going to focus on the findings of those studies because we think they will be the most interesting. We're guessing that most people here don't want to talk about research methodology. If you are interested in that, we're happy to talk about that afterwards. But we're going to focus really on the findings of the study. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to start and talk for about 10 minutes, then Dieter will talk for about 10 minutes, then Leslie will talk for about 10 minutes. At the end of each of those 3 brief sessions, we will take very short questions, and then at the end we will take any bigger questions that you have. Would that make sense? We'll see through that. So these are the 3 studies as we have been thinking about them and conceptualizing them, and these are the kind of questions that the 3 of us together are interested in. So why young people do or do not engage in snow sports? Why don't they go skiing and snow sports more generally? What do people learn when they do engage in snow sports? And then finally, how do professionals remain engaged in learning and therefore develop their abilities as ever-improving educators? So, professional development of snow sports educators. So those are 3 areas. I'm going to kick off and say a little bit about analysing constraints. This was a study that we did a few years ago with James Toogood. He's not here. And we were focused really here on pre-service teachers, so students in universities who were going to become teachers. And I'll say a little bit more about the reasons for that in just a moment. First of all, what are constraints? What do we understand by that word of a constraint? Well, anything that limits the formation of a leisure preference, anything that stops you participating. And perhaps more interestingly, or I prefer thinking about it in this way, the literature in this area suggests that there are 3 forms of barriers, if you like, or constraints to participation. The first is intrapersonal, so we might think of this as being more of a psychological constraint. So I'm worried about being cold, I'm worried about it being dangerous, I'm anxious for some reason, I don't like speed, I don't want to fall and break my leg. Those are kind of things that what we might think of as intrapersonal constraints or barriers. Second is interpersonal constraints or enablers. So none of my friends are involved in snow sports, so why would I be involved? Or, alternatively, well, all of my friends talk about skiing and they think it's great, so actually that makes me want to try it. I want to be part of that group. So a social barrier or enabler. And the last one is structural constraints. So these are things that are outside of psychological or sociological, but are more organisational kind of barriers. So for this, we might think about things like money, which is probably the most obvious barrier or constraint to participating in snow sports. So financial. So we might really want to do it. We might have all of our friends that want to do it, but if we don't have money to do it, we struggle to participate. So 3 areas. We focused on trainee teachers because in the UK, most young people who engage in snow sports as part of their education are doing that through mostly PE teachers in schools. So PE teachers is where Snow sports is typically located in most schools in the UK, and it's often PE teachers who are enthusiastic in snow sports and might arrange snow sports trips or courses like that. It's not exclusive, but that's a kind of generalisation of why we're interested in focusing on that. So we thought, if future generations of teachers are enthusiastic about snow sports, they are more likely to take students away for either a weekend or a week involved in snow sports. So that's why we're concentrating on this group, if you like. But of course there are a wide range of other kind of socialisation factors or beliefs and values that come to teachers that may or may not enable that. So things like family and upbringing are important factors, which we're going to be studying in this piece of work. So a little bit about research methodology. I promise there's just one slide about this because I know that most people, all of my friends, think this is a particularly boring subject. So we studied with 36 people involved in this. We did a survey of them and then we interviewed 8 of them. So it's a small study. It's just looking at some emerging trends that we think are interesting. Equal number of males and females involved, and we were interested in talking to people who were involved in snow sports and also those who have had opportunity but have not been involved. So we're kind of trying to look at both sides of the coin. Why didn't you go away for a week to the Alps? Why did you go away? What were the enabling factors or the barriers involved? And we interview people to get some depth in that. So here's what we found. All of these slides have lots of words on. I apologise, but it saves you listening to me and my voice if you're more interested in this. And I'm not going to read you all out, but in terms of intrapersonal, so this is the more psychological kind of factors, we found three main areas: fear of heights, anxiety about using lifts, perception of danger, and personal embarrassment. So would this be an embarrassing experience to be involved with? And you can see what we've put here are some quotes around here. One that we were expecting to find and was present in some of the literature was weather and being cold. This was not a big theme. Some people did mention that it wasn't a big theme in comparison to the other three. They were the main three themes in terms of interpersonal factors. In terms of interpersonal factors, so this is more of the sociology rather than the psychology, we found a few different themes here. So the first is family influence. You can see on the left. And on the left-hand box, some kind of a short summary of what is meant by that. So, so the idea that parents are important here, perhaps not surprisingly. And then the kind of things that people said about the influence of the family on their engagement in snow sports. So if families are involved in snow sports, no surprise, young people are more likely to be involved in snow sports. So this is kind of a surprise, Sherlock. Who needs research to find this out? Well, us academics love that kind of thing. So family influence is important. Thanks for those that got the joke. Second interpersonal one, PE teachers and schools. So one of the things we found here was that people said that when they were at school, if their teachers, and in particular their PE teachers, were enthusiastic and passionate about snow sports, they were more likely to partake. Again, perhaps not a big surprise, but it might be important, at least in the British context, to focus on creating enthusiasm within teachers. Third one on interpersonal is the social group, so the importance of the peer group. If the peer group are involved and interested in snow sports, if they're going on school trips, the young people want to be part of that group, and so that's another way of enthusing young people and enabling them into snow sports. The finally, structural or financial constraints, which was the main structural constraint that was evident in these interviews, which was about cost and whether people could afford to do this. And some of it unknown around that, and a lot of what was said was actually not true, but was a perception of this being very expensive. So, conclusions from this, very briefly, and again, covering a lot of ground in a very short period of time. 3 ways of thinking about constraints or barriers, which I think are interesting in terms of just a way of conceptualizing and thinking about this. And then a couple of other things that emerged. So a lot of the females said that they felt as if this was the marketing material was very focused on males, and that there wasn't really an agenda for marketing to encourage females into snow sports. And thirdly, just this idea that even if people are involved in snow sports at a young age, it may be that as they go through life, different constraints change, and so we need to think about these as constraints throughout life and through the lifespan, rather than as being something that is overcome at a certain point and then people are committed regardless. People's circumstances change. Okay. Any very good questions? Any yes or no questions from anybody? Good. Great. Thank you. I'm going to hand you over to Lisa.
Thank you very much, Peter. And I would like to start with a short question. I would like to start with mathematics. So we are looking about what happens when children in the school go to snow sport weeks. What is the special benefit out of that? And so we look at a little bit what did they take out of this snow sport weeks? What are the special effects so that we can promote snow sport in the schools for the pupils and especially for the parents of them, to tell them, okay, snow sport is very important for them because they learn something out of it. And so we looked at what do young people learn when they engage in snow sport, and what are the special requirements for the achievement of these effects. These are my questions, which I will answer. So if you look, here I have a small sentences. Education is not learning for life. Education is life itself. So that means that education needs something like action, like life, like doing something. And another thing here, experience is a child of thought, and thought is a child of action. So that means learning and education needs action. Without action, you don't learn anything. Yeah, it's boring, and so that it's necessary that you have connection. So what are the requested competencies for lifelong learning? What we're looking for that the children achieve in school, and especially during snow sport. You must cross boundaries. You must accept challenges. You must calculate and accept the risk. These are just some examples which make it clear that these parts must be attracted in order to promote lifelong learning. And these are requested competencies in life which are not easy to communicate in the universities and in school for the teachers. So we need a special field, we need a special organizational form where we can request these competencies. And this means we need action-oriented learning, and we need experimental learning. So this is our field, this is what we are doing here. We're doing experiential education, and outdoor sport, and especially skiing as a ski school week, is a perfect tool for this lifelong learning. And I want to show you why this came on. So we see here some results of benefits of outdoor sports, and especially from snow sports. Here we have a tool which is called self-concept, which means that self-esteem, body image, personal identity, and role performance. And we have a lot of studies you see here, and they say, okay, clearly show that outdoor-oriented school weeks, they enhance the self-concept. They enhance also the perception of school-relevant aspects. So we can bring mathematics, physics, and so on. We can bring it nearer to the pupils. Yeah. Also, there's a lot of social and and it's raised up during such a week in the snow, doing snow sports together. Also, social skills and team spirit will be enhanced, will be better for the pupils. So we did a study in 2013. We analyzed 2 school classes before and after a snow sport school week, and we looked for the changes in social behavior and connections. And we see here such a connection binding, and we see clearly that such a snow sport week changes the social behavior and connection within the school class and the teacher-pupil relation. So it has a massive benefit for the teacher, how to interact with the pupils and how to get more into contact. And also, we see massive changes here within the school class itself. So it has an absolutely positive benefit on the social interaction. The second one we looked about the motorical aspects. We did a study in 2012 and in 2013. And I thought we analyzed it, school classes before and after snow sport week in terms of motor abilities. And we looked for jumping ability, and we see clearly effects on jumping ability after the snow sport weeks. We don't have any impact on aerobic capacity, but we have a massive impact in balance testing, so the ability to balance on a slackline or something like that. Also, what we can say and what we can promote for the snow sport thing is that this snow sport week changes the motor competences in pupils, and this is not only 1 week later, we measured it also a month later and a half a year later, and these effects are still for children active. So the take-home message for this is that snow sports week can have a massive positive effect on pupils developed, especially for the self-concept, the leadership competences, the social skills, body sensitive, respective body awarenesses, and motor abilities. So there's some good arguments to tell people, parents, okay, just send your pupils in school to snow sport weeks. Yeah, go make snow sport. You have a lot of good benefits. Then we did another study here with Frida Baker that showed that sport, and in particular outdoor sport, influences their executive functions. So what are executive functions? You see it here. Executive functions are self-regulation, which has in it the working memories, inhibition, and cognitive flexibility. And these executive functions now are shown or show beats that they beat the IQ as an indicator for school achievement. So executive functions are a better predictor for what the pupils will have in their exams or so on. So we are looking on it that sport can change this executive function. And therefore, we look for it, we made the theory out of it. So how does it work, this idea? So you need an activity, and this activity must be correlated. That means that this activity must be put on, I did this activity by myself. So this is an important thing. Then there comes in dopamine. You all know dopamine. When you ride down a hill, you have powder, the sun is shining and you're gliding down, then here up in your brain comes dopamine, a positive effect. And the dopamine will be much more in your brain when the activity is functioning better than you expect that this activity would. So this must be recognized. So you go in and say, okay, I write down, oh, we will see what happened. And then you go down, and then the teacher says, hey, it was wonderful. It was absolutely unbelievable. So this was better than expected. And the second part, what we need for that is we need BNDF. It's just kind of fertilizer in our brain. And this BDNF, this is connected to physical activity. So if you do physical activity, especially aerobic So what have we have to do? We have to have challenging, coordinative challenging activities. And this activity must be done voluntarily. Yeah? So the pupils must like to do that. Yeah? It must be done repetitive. You have to do it regularly. You have to do movement and games. You have to try to make it a little bit playful. And it must be also an aerobic challenging movement. Not only Nordic skiing, but alpine skiing is enough for making such a stress. It must be in a motivating environment. That's normal. So when we go out in the skiing area, it's always motivating for us. And it's an intensive physical activity. So all these arguments we need for this work, that the executive function, we can find at the execution of snow sport. So we looked at it, we made a study, and it's just finished now. It's not published now, but this is the first time we present it. We did the combination of coordinative exercises and skiing tasks, and we looked at it for pupils, and we did it with a multidimensional test of mental state, in order to look how their mental state changes. Then we did the Stroop test. I don't know if you know the Stroop test. The Stroop test is just, we show a film, where we show this, this word, and this word is purple. Is it purple? So we have to say the right color. Purple is right. Then this is not yellow, this is blue. Then we show this, it's not red, it's green. So we have to say purple, blue, green, yellow, green, black, and so on. And you look for the, and this shows what the inhibition is. So we look at the executive function. And therefore, we made a lot of coordinative exercises. These exercises will be shown tomorrow in the German workshop, in a special workshop where we show you all these special exercises we use. And therefore, we have seen that there is a massive better values in the Stroop test and massive better execution of skiing skills. So we also find a correlation, a positive finding between the coordinative competences and the executive functions. So this was we were very happy about that, and so we can say, okay, the snow sports week can have a positive effect on pupils' executive function and therefore on their intelligence. So we say, okay, snow sport makes intelligent for the people. Just a slogan for the parents, and we have here a kind of PhD thesis where he told us, okay, school ski courses makes you strong. So that's my part of the presentation. Do you have any short question, or should we discuss about it later? No short question? Then I hand it over to Leslie.
Thank you. Hi everyone. As I said before, my name is Leslie Page. I'm doing a PhD at the University of Edinburgh, where I'm looking into how professionals, specifically ski instructors, learn about their profession from engaging with their job. So today it's a real privilege to share this research with you. I'm just going to talk you through some of the initial findings that I've come up with so far. I am a PhD student, but I'm also here in another role. I'm a member of the BSIA National Education team, so I've been out doing the demonstrations with my fellow team members who are here supporting me. We're all BSIA trainers as well, which means that we examine and assess students, people wanting to become ski instructors. And I'm also a ski instructor, so my daily life is being a ski instructor and working with ski school clients. So the research I'm going to share, it's just initial research, it's ongoing, but I've got some initial findings that I wanted to share with you. This question is quite long, but essentially what I'm trying to look for is how do ski instructors, and I'm looking at ski instructors because I am one, how do ski instructors learn on the job? So when they're doing their job, how does that happen? And the reason I chose this question was really selfish. I was just really curious about how you become an expert ski instructor. How do you become a good ski instructor? And curious about that since I was 16 years old and I took my first skiing lesson. So some people say that research is just formalized curiosity, and that's what I've done here. So what I did was I just got together with expert ski instructors, so people who had a very high qualification, and they also were very respected within the industry. And I asked them to tell me their story. How did they get from being a beginning ski instructor to where they were now? And they told me their stories, and there are some themes from these stories that were very easy to analyze. So what they told me, and the big thing they talked about, was other people. Other people had been so important to their development of their expertise. And what they said was that it was the communities. So in their ski school, the people that were around them in the ski school, they helped develop them. The people who they met on ski courses, who became their friends, who pushed them a little bit, who supported them a bit. And they also talked about people who inspired them. So the BSIA trainer that they met on that first course who told them, you can be a ski instructor, you can do this. The people who took them under their wing and mentored them a little bit, they were really important to their development. So they talked about that a lot. Secondly, they talked about their experience. So all those times where they had massed up all that experience over their career. And specifically, they talked about the experiences that were really uncomfortable. So the times when, they had to take their first BSIA course, or they had to take a freestyle lesson and they didn't really know how to do freestyle, and they just dived in and they just did it. All of them talked about something that they felt was innate within them, which was a love for the sport and a passion for teaching and learning, and how they were curious about getting better and developing. And finally, some of them talked about this, but actually it came across in the conversations that these people were really good at thinking about what they did. And they were good at making decisions, and they were good at reflecting on their teaching practice. So I got all this information, and I thought, for me, that was really interesting, and I wanted to explore it further. But what I wanted to do was create a very thick description of what that everyday practice was. Rather than just hearing the big story, I wanted to look at the daily story that happens. How do people learn from teaching other people in that daily moment? And what is that learning? What does it look like? So I looked at everyday learning, and these quotes kind of summarize what everyday learning is, or informal learning is. It's unstructured, it's spontaneous, it's learning in the workplace without systematic support, so without someone there to help guide you. It's described in the literature as a hidden phenomenon. It's something that we all know happens, but actually within research we don't really understand in depth what that is and how it works. And we know that experiences are important. We know that experiences happen all the time, and we can learn from experiences all the time. So, because I wanted to get this very detailed idea of how this works, I approached two BSIA trainers, and I asked them if I could participate on their BSIA course. If I could go along and I could watch them doing their job, and then I could interview them at the end of each day. So I spent a week with people doing a BSIA course, BSIA trainers running a course. And what I was looking for was I was looking for moments in their day where something challenged them, something happened that was out of the ordinary, where there was a learning opportunity that they could go for. And I would note that down, and then at the end of the day, I would discuss with the trainer if that was a learning opportunity, and we would discuss what they learned during the day, and we'd just talk about their day. And then I've analysed all that data, and it was quite a lot of data from a week of talking and watching, and I interpreted that data. So the learning I was looking for was a legacy of change in their knowledge and their ways of knowing. So they needed to be able to tell me that something had changed, that they thought of something in a different way, that they were going to do something different in the future. So what my analysis of the data came up with was that there was a process to being able to get to a point where you could learn something from your practice. So these instructors could learn something from their practice, but there had to be some things that happened before they got to that point. The first thing that had to happen was that they were amazing at noticing what was going on in their environment, in that social situation, in the group. They were amazing at seeing behaviours of the students. They were absolutely excellent at seeing, oh, that bit of snow there is like that, so that's probably going to be not good to ski on. And they could notice stuff really quickly, and they could notice a lot of stuff. Once they had noticed what with all that information that they could gather, they then were quite open to some of the opportunities to learn from some of that information that they were getting. And they would interpret the information based on their past experiences. So if Johnny was being a pain, sometimes they would interpret that as, oh, well, I know why that is because of this and this and this. And I know that because I've been doing this job for a long time. Sometimes they were very open to something being new that they'd never experienced before and going, I don't really know what this is, and I have to react to it in a way that I've never reacted before. And this is where the learning started, okay? Or the change in learning started. They would adapt their knowledge in a new and innovative way. So these were expert professionals, so they had a huge depth of knowledge, but they would adapt it in a way that they'd never adapted it before. And that's when there was a recognised change in learning. So I've just got some quotes just to kind of give you an idea of what that was. This is the noticing. So this person is saying that, that things change, that there's never the same, and you've got to kind of keep noticing. There's a continual thing of keeping on noticing what's going on around you. These trainers talked about openness, and what they talked about was that actually they were really certain of things before they became a trainer, and then as they've become a trainer, actually they've become less certain, and they're more open to new ideas coming in. This trainer wasn't sure if that was a good thing. The other trainer knew it was a good thing. They said, actually, it's great that I don't know everything. I think that's really important that I don't know everything, and that's why I'm open to learning from experience. And these quotes just illustrate adaptation. So, I hardly ever, if not never, stick to my plan. I always somehow change it. And sometimes, as I'm speaking, I'm making up plans, which is probably not good, but I do sometimes. The words are coming out of my mouth, and they're making the plan. So they could adapt their knowledge, on the spot. And when they did this, they would come up with things that they'd never done before, but it created learning that they went, okay, that's now in my experience, that's in my knowledge, and I can take that forward. That's a brief bit of the data, but I'm just going to share some conclusions from this research which might be useful for you as snow sports professionals or people who are involved in the snow sports industry. What the literature and lots of previous research, as well as a little bit of research that I've done, is pretty certain about is that communities and instructors' communities are very important places for continued professional learning. So having a place where you feel that you can talk with your peers and colleagues is really important to your furthering of your professional knowledge. My research has confirmed that instructors can use their teaching practice to continue learning about their profession, and they do this through reflecting on it. They do this through discussing with someone like me who was annoying them for the week. The instructors who use their practice effectively, they have qualities, personal qualities that interact in quite complex ways. And these qualities are a confidence, but also a humility. So they have a huge confidence in their professional knowledge, but they also are able to be humble and open to new learnings and new understandings. And, you know, I think there's been an idea in the Western world that learning happens in the brain, and this study confirms, and the literature confirms, that learning happens across different dimensions. So this learning happened because it was in a social setting, and those pupils were giving the trainer experiences that they could learn from. It was also quite emotional. The times when they chose to learn from something was usually because they were in a good place, like they were happy, they weren't tired, they weren't hungry. So it was quite an emotional choice. And obviously they thought about it as well. So to learn from your practice, professional learning definitely contributes to your professional identity. And what I mean by that is that as you're learning, you're always remaking your professional identity. So all of this, there's lots more research that I want to do in it, but I hope that it just gives you a snapshot into some ideas about being open and being humble and using your communities to help you. And yes, are there any questions? No? Are there any questions for anyone about in the room? Oh.
Great, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Just a quick summary here to kind of reminder of the three studies we talked about and the kind of findings from them. If you have questions or you're interested, we are here and around, and we'd love to talk more.